value analysis. This is quite an important topic. That is, once you have baselined the project for your schedule, for your cost, then as you start executing the project, you need to do earned value analysis at a periodic point of time or whenever required, so that you can check whether the project is on track, that is on schedule as planned, or whether it is lagging on the schedule or it is ahead of schedule, and whether there is a cost overrun or whether it is on track of the budget. All this can be done through the earned value analysis. So apart from the triple constraint, that is scope, schedule and the cost, to maintain that, yes, you need to do the earned value analysis. So you have different costs. One is the planned cost, that is which is the approved cost, planned value, the approved cost for the work package, also known as budgeted cost of the work schedule. So this is planned value, is always known as the budget. And then comes the earned value, that is when you execute the project. So based on the budget, you would be executing the project, but whether it has really, whether it has gone as per the plan. Say for example, you're supposed to make one table per day, but you have completed just half the table. Yes, you're like, naturally the example is you're lagging behind. You're supposed to complete one furniture, that is one table, but you have just completed half the work. So naturally you're lagging behind. Yes, if one cost of the table is 100, that is what it should have been, you have completed at the end of the day, but you have completed only 50% of it, then it is $50 only. Though you have spent $100 of that, but the earned value is only 50 of it. I mean, that is the actual cost. You have spent about 100 maybe on your labor, but then earned value, because since you have completed only half of the table, the earned value becomes $50, that is 50%. So the actual cost incurred for the execution of the work package at any specified time is the actual cost. So remember these terms are quite interchanged. That is the BCWS, that is the planned value, budget cost of work performance, that is for the earned value. So you need to remember this one. Easiest way to remember this one is earned value is something like for work performance. Actual cost is simple because it is mentioned actual cost of work performed. So planned, when you want to recollect planned value with BCW, look at the budgeted cost. Planned value is budgeted, earned value is work performance, the actual cost, here you have actual cost of work performance. So that is what is used, either PV, EV, AC, or BCW, or BCWS, BSWS, BCWP and ACWP. So I've just highlighted this one just to indicate planned value, budget, earned value is work performance, actual cost, anyway you have actual cost of work performed. Because when you take up any of the certification program, these could be interchanged and just to indicate some kind of a confusion in the minds of the reader. So these are the formulae of the schedule variance, cost variance, schedule performance index, cost performance index, and finally to complete performance index. So schedule, when it is equal to 1, then it is, both of them are on track. That is EV divided by PV. It is on track because there is no schedule variation. Suppose you want to make one table is the plan and you are making one table on a day. Naturally, there is no schedule variance. There is no cost variance also, because one table, $100 is the effort, and earned value, because it is $100, there is no deviation. Then 1 divided by 1, because one table and one is the earned value, because naturally it is going to be 1. Or say for example, if you take it in the dollar sense, $100 is a plan, it earns a value, the actual work done is 100 for $100, $100 by 100 is again 1. Similarly, cost performance index also, it is 1. But whereas if you're lagging behind, if it is Earned value is only 50, and this is planned value is 100. Since numerator is lesser, so naturally it will be in the decimal point. So less than 1, you are lagging in the schedule, and similarly you are spending more. The actual cost will be 100, whereas again if it is just 50, you are lagging behind. So that way, yes, you are over budgeted. You have gone beyond the budget what was actually planned. So in that case, you are lagging behind in schedule and overspending if you are doing work less than what was planned or intended. Just like instead of making one table, you have worked only half the job is done. Yes, naturally, there is a scheduled performance index which is less than 1. Cost performance index is less than 1. There is something like this is one more topic which is to complete performance index. That is, what is that you need to do to ensure that you are completing, though you are working behind schedule, what is that you have to do perform so that you are able to go back and complete. Suppose, say for example, you are at only half the work is done, it is now just 0.5 in this case. What is the effort you need to put to complete the task? So you have to put more effort. Maybe instead of one table, you got to construct 1.5 table to complete the work. So that is as far as the option 1 is concerned. Sometimes due to the flawed estimate itself is wrong. Naturally, you need to get stakeholders agreement, or you need to get the budget and you need to revise the estimate. So something like, okay, with $100, it is not possible to construct, to make a table, it requires $150 and 1.5 days it is going to take. Then that is the revised estimate. So you need to use EAC minus, that is the estimate to complete, that is the revised budget. So for now, I mean, could be little confusing. Ideally, we can take an example, and same table example we'll take, and we'll try to calculate so that it is becomes much more easier to understand this concept. Thank you. Stay tuned. So earlier we saw this calculation or the formulas, and generally we tend to forget. So if you're trying to get certified, so this formula is quite important. So you need to have kind of better option would be to memorize them and keep looking at it, keep working on some of the example, then you will understand it better. So having looked at the formula, the easiest way, as I said, is take an example and work through it. The understanding becomes much more easier and effective. So we will see an example. So it's a 10-day project to build 10 tables. So that means you have a planned cost. This is the planned cost, 400 per day, one table per day. That's a planned activity. One table is expected to complete it. 400, labor per hour is 50. So that is where 8 hours per day. So that is 400 per day, one table. And if you look at it, this is the total cost. That is 4,000 USD is the total cost. So you have the planned value. Assume, okay, this is what is agreed between you and client, and this is baseline. You have a activity that is one table. So 10-day project, one table per day, and plan cost is 400 per day. That is what is planned. 4,000 is the total budget. So this is baseline. If you take it as a project, this needs to be baseline. This is where baseline meaning you agree with the client. This is what is going to happen. You employ the resources to construct. So now, when you execute, maybe you are a project manager, multiple projects. So you come back on the end of the 4th day, you find only 2 tables are done on 4th day. 4 days are complete. At the end of the 4th day, you find only 2 tables are completed. And even the consultant or the contractor has said instead of 4 days, it is actually, it needs to be 32 hours. So instead of 32 hours, they have consumed 40 hours. So it's about 8 hours of overtime. So $50, and that means 2000 USD. So instead of 8 hours per day, so it is 32 hours should be there, but they have consumed 40 hours. So you have the actual cost of 2000 USD is the actual cost. So if you ask, the plant is 32 hours, which is um, should be 32. It should be 32 into 50 is what it should be the plant. So what needs to happen is there a project variance? So you need to find out what is the plant value, what is the actual, what is the earned value. Here, if you look at it, you have built only two tables. So that means you have not built four tables is what you should have built. You have built only two tables. So if you look at it, so it's somewhere the plant value, if you look at it, it is 400 into 2 is 800 USD. And actual cost spent is 2000 USD. This indicates that you are behind schedule. So with this, try to calculate what is the schedule variance, what is the cost variance, schedule performance index, cost performance index. Try to work out on your own, and then we will get into the next presentation. Thank you. Stay tuned. Welcome back. So I hope you have worked through that example and found out whether we have a schedule variance, cost variance, what is the schedule performance index, cost performance index. So now we will validate with whatever you have calculated with my discussion as well. So we said like at the end of the 4 days, only two tables was made. That itself indicates that there is a schedule variance. We are not on track. So if you look at it, the earned value, it's only 800 USD. Whereas the actual cost is we have consumed more 8 hours of overtime, and it's about 2000 USD is spent totally. Plant is supposed to be only 32 hours, 1600 USD is what should have been spent, and you should have made four tables, but there itself there is again we are having a schedule variance, and of course there is going to be a cost variance as well, because actual cost we are spending more, we are making actually lesser in quantity as well. Let's substitute with the values um, with the schedule variance SV, which is EV minus PV. So it's 800 minus 1600, it's minus 800. The negative number indicates that we are behind schedule. Next comes the cost variance. Cost variance is EV minus CV. And again, this is negative. Earned value is very less. Earned value is 800, whereas this is you have spent over 1000, that is 50%. A negative number indicates that you are over the budget. That is meaning you are spending more. There is not going to be any cost variance at all. So ideal condition, what should be the cost variance? The answer should be, it should be 0. So means whatever the actual cost should be in the whatever is initially planned, that should be actually earned as well. In this case, it is negative, indicated that you are overspending. Suppose if you are doing more work than what is actually spent, then it will be a positive number. Here it is negative. So you are spending more, that is one point. The another point is also behind schedule, which means the project is just behind the schedule and over the budget. And that is where, if you look at the schedule performance index of EV minus PV, it is 0.5. Number less than 1 indicates that you are behind schedule. And similarly, if you look at cost variance, it is 0.4. 800 by the actual cost, it is 0.4. The number indicates that you are overspending. So 1 is what needs to be at the plant value. The cost performance index of 1 indicates that you are on track, on budget. Same is the case with schedule performance index of 1, meaning that you are on schedule. So this case, you are behind budget and spending over budget. So you need to do something to bring it back to the track. So that is where to complete performance index TCPI will be useful. Say for example, this is the formula: budget at complete minus EV, budget at complete minus AC. So if you substituted these values, it is becoming 1.6. That means you have to have 1.6 to achieve the target, meaning you need to make more than a table, maybe more than a table you need to complete in the remaining, because 4 days of work is already done. In the balance, whatever is the planned 6 days, because 10 days the total duration of that project. So in the balance 6 days, you should ensure that more than above 1.5, so 1.5 tables. You can make something like one table is complete, half the work of the next table needs to be completed, more than half the table needs to be completed, so that you are able to complete within that project on the 10 days time. This is a common scenario in any project. At any point of time, you might be lagging behind. So you need to, you need to do the earned value analysis and try to ensure that you need to make them, make the consultant, your contractors, put sufficient effort, monitor them and bring it back the project in track. So very common. There could be cases wherein the estimates are wrong. So if the estimates are wrong, this is where, whatever monitoring you do, you may not be in a position to complete 1.6 tables at one table plus another half of the table. So it might not happen. Maybe there is some dependency which is not being taken care during the estimation stage. So in that case, yes, as a project manager, sometimes you get additional budget. So in this case, it is 1,200 USD is the additional budget over 4,000, that is for 10 days, plus 1,200 becomes 5,200. That is EAC, that's expected at complete revised budget, basically revised budget. So if you do that, then yes, the schedule itself is getting extended. Say for example, it's about 3 days of additional extension you get, and 1,200 USD you've been offered with. In that case, yes, you can still complete the project instead of working, ensuring, going behind your consultant or your contractors, putting pressure on them to complete the work. Instead of that, since there is additional budget, you can go ahead and complete the project with the additional budget. So this method is something like there is a flawed estimate, then you come out with the estimate to complete. Additionally, you got to revise your plan, baseline the plan, and then work on it so that you complete on the track on your revised schedule, on the revised cost, that is the revised baseline. So now I hope you are clear with the various earned value analysis, and this is quite common. This is very practical. This sometimes, not sometimes, many times this is overlooked by project manager. This is very critical, the earned value analysis. So ensure that you have a good understanding of earned value analysis, whether you're a practical project manager or even if you want to get certified. Earned value analysis is very important from a PMP certification standpoint. Thank you. Now that you had understood about the earned value analysis, we look at the S curve. Sometimes S curve is commonly used because it provides a visual indication of whether you are lagging behind in schedule, you are overspending. The S curve will give a plot. Generally, all the tools like the MS projects or Oracle Primavera, these can be created. The S curve can be created. So just by looking at the graph, you'll know that whether you're behind schedule or on track or ahead of schedule. So S curve is a project management graphical tool that displays the cumulative data. It's example project cost, hours, progress, quantity against time. So if you look at it, let's a typical S curve. So the reason for it is called as S curve is that it indicates something like an S. So that is where it is called the S curve. This is planned one. So normally what happens is against the plan, you also create the actuals. So sometimes if you're overspending, this graph will be on the top. I mean, because it is your overspending, this graph, the other plot will be on top of this. That means you're overspending. Sometimes it is below. That means you are than the planned. You are spending lesser than that. So that is where it depends against the time. It is you plot the cost, hours, progress, and quantities. So S curve is a graphical tool to represent the earned value analysis. Thank you.